All right, guys, on today's show, we're going to dive into some draft talk. What should the Bears do at number 9? Do they pick someone there? Do they trade down? What do you think? If you're Ryan Poles, what are you doing? Would you draft a player, type D, or would you trade down from the number 9 pick? Let me know, and then I'll dive into some different scenarios. I'm Harrison Graham, and you are watching Chicago Bears Now, examining the Bears' draft targets with the number 9 pick and exploring some trade-down situations is what we're talking about on today's show, as Ryan Poles could certainly look to add more capital. Let's get to the first scenario, and I still think this is very much under consideration, at least it is in my eyes, if you are the Chicago Bears. If Malik Nabers or Rome Odunze, the LSU receiver, the Washington wide receiver, fall to 9, I still think, even after trading for Keenan Allen, that has got to be heavily considered if you are Ryan Poles, because Allen is going to be 32 this year. As of now, they haven't extended him, but even if they do, you still have questions after those two guys. Can Tyler Scott emerge? Are you going to draft somebody later that you can rely on as a quality number 3? The beauty of this scenario of Nabers or Odunze is you don't need them to be highly productive as rookies if you do draft him at number 9, because you have two other dudes you can lean on. Now, that doesn't mean one of these guys wouldn't be, because I think they're that damn talented that they should hit the ground running in the NFL. But just because you traded for Keenan Allen doesn't mean that Rome Odunze or Malik Nabers should be out of consideration at number 9, in my opinion. We still have questions about Tyler Scott. I don't think Velus Jones is ever going to be a starting receiver in this league. So, yeah, your 1-2 punch is awesome, but what does it look like after that? What if Keenan Allen gets injured, which he does have some injury history? What if DJ Moore misses time? Now, trading for Keenan Allen no doubt gives you options. Like, before that move, I was like, it's an automatic pull the trigger for me if Nabers or Odunze is there. It's not that for me anymore, but I'd still be pretty damn tempted to do it, and I would have absolutely no problem. In fact, I would celebrate it if that was the selection. Could one of them be there and you opt to trade down? I'd be okay with it now. But, man, that is a tempting situation if you are the Chicago Bears. All right, how about draft an edge? Certainly do that. There's a very real scenario where the Bears at number 9 get the first defensive player off the board. Now, Atlanta 8 could certainly take in a defensive player as well, but I think the top 7 picks are virtual locks to be offensive guys, and maybe top 8 as well. So you could get to a situation where if you're the Bears, you're like, we can get any defensive player. That's pretty sweet. I think there's 3 edge prospects that stick out. Chop Robinson I would put 4th, but I think top 10 is too rich for him. Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, Leatu Latu. You could talk me into any of these 3 at number 9. I would prefer to trade down because I think at least 2, if not all 3 of them, are still going to be there when you're picking at 9. So you could sit there and say, okay, yeah, I could take any of these guys and not lose sleep, have to worry. But if I trade down to 12 or 13, or even 14 or 15, pretty good chance one of these guys makes it there as well. Plus, I get more capital. So, look, if they take an edge at 9, I'm not going to bitch about it. It's your top need right now, in my opinion. You've got Montez Sweat, but you still have major question marks otherwise. DeMarcus Walker is a rotation guy that can kick inside as well. Good energy player, but he's not a starting edge in this league. Jacob Martin's a backup as well. You need another starting edge. So if you take one at 9, that's cool. If you trade down and get one, that's even better. Certainly something under consideration. What is the Bears' biggest need right now? For me, it is edge. I just said that. You could say defensive tackle too. Like, you could say wide receiver, but for this season, it's still a need because you need someone after your top 2, but it's not your biggest need anymore. Like, to me, it's edge or defensive tackle. Let me know what you think the biggest need is. Maybe your biggest need is to add to the wardrobe. Get yourself an FGB t-shirt. Who doesn't want one of these? Chatsports.com/FGB. Pick one up today. You're not going to regret it. Chatsports.com/FGB. You could draft an offensive tackle, and maybe you guys think upgrading over Braxton Jones is your biggest need. I don't think that, but I'm also not opposed to it because this offensive tackle class is absolutely nasty. These 5 guys could all go in the top 20 picks. 3 of them could go in the top 10 or 12 with Joe Alt, Talles Fuaga, and Olu Fashanu. I think Fashano's dipped a little bit. I think Fuaga is clearly ahead of him. Some people have Fuaga ahead of Alt. Major comps for Fuaga, by the way, are Darnell Wright. So, the only problem with Fuaga is if you draft him, do you move Darnell Wright to left tackle? Do you put Fuaga at left tackle? Fuaga played right tackle at Oregon State, whereas Alt played left tackle. Olu played left tackle as well. Fountainu could play tackle or guard. He's pretty nasty. J.C. Latham can play tackle or guard, but I think he's more of a right tackle, so I don't think he'll be under consideration. But this offensive tackle draft is loaded. And it's not just the guys I mentioned. There's guys later in the draft. You can get Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. You can get Patrick Paul out of Houston. You get the kid out of BYU. The Yale guy is an athletic freak. I'm blanking on his name. It's Kiram something. But you got like 10 tackles in this draft that looks like they were built out of factories. So I would not be shocked if Ryan Poles fell in love with one of these guys and got him. Again, kind of like the edge thing. If you're going to go that route, I'd probably rather trade down than just take one at 9. But again, I don't think it would be a bad outcome if you did take one at 9. How about Byron Murphy? I think this is a name we're going to start talking about more in Bears circles. I think he could be in play at 9. I definitely think he could be in play in a minor trade down to like 12, 13, something like that. The production was pretty good. It wasn't amazing at Texas, but pretty good for an interior guy. Had 5 sacks for a college interior player. That's pretty damn solid. And what's interesting here, and don't cancel me, but when you look at his measurables in athletic testing, it is eerily similar to Aaron Donald. Their size is very similar. Their splits are very similar. Their athletic profiles are very similar. You're talking about like within 0.1, 0.2 seconds in the 40. You're talking about the vertical and broad being very close. Height and weight, arm length, very close. Now, Aaron Donald was more productive at Pittsburgh, and this is arguably the best defensive tackle of all time. So don't overreact here. I'm not saying Byron Murphy is the next Aaron Donald. I'm just saying if you're looking for a player comp with body size, tape, there's some similarities, although Donald was more consistent. You could see it. That kind of low to the ground, use that to your advantage with quickness and power. You see it with Byron Murphy. Like, he played next to Devondre Sweat, and I felt like Sweat got a lot of hype early on because he's this huge 350-pound player. Murphy's the better player, though, and he's going to go very high in this draft. So you pair him with Gervon Dexter as your 3-tech duo, that's pretty funny. Let the best man win and let the other guy be an energetic rotation guy that comes in here. So I'm excited by the potential Byron Murphy. He's grown on me as this process has gone on. And if the Bears end up with him, obviously it's going to be hard to get him plus one of the really good edges. I'd be perfectly fine with that. At the end of the day, you just need another second impactful defensive lineman next to Montez Sweat. You're hoping Gervon Dexter becomes that. Maybe a guy like Byron Murphy could as well. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. We're posting daily Bears content for 100% free. Draft, more free agency coverage, news, rumors, trade buzz. We know Ryan Poles likes to make a trade. We're going to cover it all. YouTube.com/BearsNow. We'll see you out there. Okay, last one here. And I've alluded to it throughout the show. You could trade down for more picks. And if you do that, that's probably the best of both worlds because right now you've got 4 picks in this draft. Now, again, and we've talked about this on other shows, evaluators, draft experts, scouts, talent evaluators, GMs, etc., it's been pretty well documented and reported that this is kind of like a 3-4 round draft. The top 3 or 4 rounds are pretty damn good. After that, big drop-off. Not great depth in this draft. And why is that, Harrison? Well, a lot of guys still have COVID years. They're staying in college an extra year rather than risking the draft and being a 6th or 7th round pick when they could just do that the next year. And 2, with the emergence of NIL in college football, guys that would be day 3 picks or even middle round picks, they're staying in school next year because they're like, well, if I go in the 5th round or if I stay and make $500,000 now, I'll just stay and go pro later. So I think what you've seen the Bears with their actions, they've been willing to trade a 5th for Ryan Bates, a 4th for a guy like Keenan Allen, obviously, because the cream of the crop is in the first 3 rounds in particular. So I think Ryan Poles would like to trade down from 9 and get an extra pick or 2 in the 2nd or 3rd round, maybe in the 4th as well. That would certainly be nice. But I don't think Ryan Poles views this draft as, oh my God, I got to get back up to 10 picks. Because if he did, he would have done that. Instead, he's been willing to trade some of his depth picks to acquire other players, and his actions have spoken in that regard. So I think trading down to get an edge or an offensive tackle or even a different receiver could certainly happen. Who knows? Maybe they go wild and trade down, and Brock Bowers is still on the board, and they go that route. But I think they would like to do that, but if they love somebody at number 9, just take him. Like Malik Nabers or Rome Odunze is there, and you love the player, he's top 5 or 6 on your board, just take him. I got no problem with that. Make the call again. We let off with this. We'll end with it. What should the Bears do with the number 9 pick? Type D for draft a player or T for trade down. In a perfect world, I would trade down to get more capital, but you make the call down in the comments section. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Chicago Bears Now. Give me a follow on social media, Instagram at HGramNFL, same handle on Twitter, X, whatever you're calling it, at HGramNFL. More Bears content over there. Go ahead and give me a follow.